Numbers chapter 4. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying,
Take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi, after their families by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even until 50 years old, all that enter into the host, to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation. This shall be the service of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation, about the most holy things. And when the camp setteth forward, Aaron shall come and his sons, and they shall take down the covering veil, and cover the ark of testimony with it.
And shall put thereon the covering of badgers' skins, and shall spread over it a cloth wholly of blue, and shall put in the staves thereof. And upon the table of showbread they shall spread a cloth of blue, and put thereon the dishes, and the spoons, and the bowls, and covers to cover withal, and the continual bread shall be thereon. And they shall spread upon them a cloth of scarlet, and cover the same with a covering of badgers' skins, and shall put in the staves thereof. And they shall take a cloth of blue, and cover the candlestick of the light, and his lamps, and his tongues, and his snuff dishes, and all the oil vessels thereof, wherewith they minister unto it. And they shall put it and all the vessels thereof within a covering of badgers' skins, and shall put it upon a bar. And upon the golden altar they shall spread a cloth of blue, and cover it with a covering of badgers' skins, and shall put to the staves thereof. And they shall take all the instruments of ministry, wherewith they minister in the sanctuary, and put them in a cloth of blue, and cover them with a covering of badgers' skins, and shall put them on a bar. And they shall take away the ashes from the altar, and spread a purple cloth thereon. And they shall put upon it all the vessels thereof, wherewith they minister about it, even the censers, the flesh hooks, and the shovels, and the basins, all the vessels of the altar. And they shall spread upon it a covering of badgers' skins, and put to the staves of it.
And when Aaron and his sons have made an end of covering the sanctuary and all the vessels of the sanctuary, as the camp is to set forward, after that the sons of Kohath shall come to bear it, but they shall not touch any holy thing, lest they die. These things are the burden of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation. And to the office of Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest pertaineth the oil for the light, and the sweet incense, and the daily meat offering, and the anointing oil, and the oversight of all the tabernacle, and of all that therein is, in the sanctuary and in the vessels thereof.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying,
Cut ye not off the tribe of the families of the Kohathites from among the Levites, but thus do unto them that they may live, and not die when they approach unto the most holy things. Aaron and his sons shall go in, and appoint them every one to his service and to his burden. But they shall not go in to see when the holy things are covered, lest they die.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying,
Take also the sum of the sons of Gershon throughout the houses of their fathers by their families.
From 30 years old and upward until 50 years old shalt thou number them, all that enter in to perform the service to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation. This is the service of the families of the Gershonites, to serve and for burdens. And they shall bear the curtains of the tabernacle, and the tabernacle of the congregation his covering, and the covering of the badgers' skins that is above upon it, and the hanging for the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the hangings of the court, and the hanging for the door of the gate of the court, which is by the tabernacle, and by the altar round about, and their cords, and all the instruments of their service, and all that is made for them, so shall they serve. At the appointment of Aaron and his sons shall be all the service of the sons of the Gershonites, in all their burdens, and in all their service. And ye shall appoint unto them in charge all their burdens. This is the service of the families of the sons of Gershon in the tabernacle of the congregation. And their charge shall be under the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest.
As for the sons of Merari, thou shalt number them after their families by the house of their fathers. From 30 years old and upward, even unto 50 years old, shalt thou number them, every one that entereth into the service, to do the work of the tabernacle of the congregation. And this is the charge of their burden, according to all their service in the tabernacle of the congregation: the boards of the tabernacle, and the bars thereof, and the pillars thereof, and sockets thereof, and the pillars of the court round about, and their sockets, and their pins, and their cords, with all their instruments, and with all their service. And by name ye shall reckon the instruments of the charge of their burden.
This is the service of the families of the sons of Merari, according to all their service, in the tabernacle of the congregation, under the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest.
And Moses and Aaron and the chief of the congregation numbered the sons of the Kohathites after their families, and after the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even unto 50 years old, every one that entereth into the service for the work in the tabernacle of the congregation. And those that were numbered of them by their families were 2,750. These were they that were numbered of the families of the Kohathites, all that might do service in the tabernacle of the congregation, which Moses and Aaron did number according to the commandment of the Lord by the hand of Moses. And those that were numbered of the sons of Gershon throughout their families, and by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even unto 50 years old, every one that entereth into the service for the work in the tabernacle of the congregation, even those that were numbered of them throughout their families, by the house of their fathers, were 2,630. These are they that were numbered of the families of the sons of Gershon, of all that might do service in the tabernacle of the congregation, whom Moses and Aaron did number according to the commandment of the Lord. And those that were numbered of the families of the sons of Merari throughout their families by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even unto 50 years old, every one that entereth into the service for the work in the tabernacle of the congregation. Even those that were numbered of them after their families were 3,200. These be those that were numbered of the families of the sons of Merari, whom Moses and Aaron numbered according to the word of the Lord by the hand of Moses. All those that were numbered of the Levites, whom Moses and Aaron and the chief of Israel numbered after their families and after the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even unto 50 years old, every one that came to do the service of the ministry and the service of the burden in the tabernacle of the congregation. Even those that were numbered of them were 8,580. According to the commandment of the Lord, they were numbered by the hand of Moses, every one according to his service, and according to his burden. Thus were they numbered of him, as the Lord commanded Moses.
Then you have in chapter 4 the service of the Levites. These three families had this service to perform. And who is to serve? It says in verse 1, chapter 4, And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, Take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi after their families by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even until 50 years old, all that enter into the host to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation. Now from 30 to 50 they were to serve. That was the prime of life for them, and they were to serve. Now we're told, as you move down into this section here, and when Aaron, verse 15, and his sons have made an end of covering the sanctuary and all the vessels of the sanctuary, as the camp is to set forward, after that the sons of Kohath shall come to bear it, but they shall not touch any holy thing, lest they die. These things are the burden of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation. Now, this was the order on the wilderness march. And we are told here, verse 20, but they shall not go in to see when the holy things are covered, lest they die. In other words, the only ones who ever saw the articles that belonged in the Holy of Holies was Aaron and his sons. They were the only ones, and that was the ark and the mercy seat that covered it. Then you have the order of the service of these others, Merari carrying these heavy articles, the pillars and the boards and the bars. And then we find that the Kohathites, they had their assignment, which was the articles of furniture. And then Gershon, he took the curtains and coverings and cords. And you'd think he had the easiest job, but I don't think it was easiest, but it was certainly easier than Merari as far as the articles were concerned. Now there's a glorious message given to us here concerning these that are serving the service of the Levites. In the service, Kohath came first as he carried the articles of furniture. Now I'd like for you to note how they moved out on the wilderness march, and we'll see that more particularly when we come to the silver trumpet a little bit later on. And I don't want to be too tedious here, but I'd like for you to notice how they moved out on the wilderness march. The tabernacle was set up. That's the picture that's given to us here. What happened? Well, Moses and Aaron, they came out of the tabernacle of a morning, and they didn't talk it over, and Moses didn't say, well, let's have a meeting of the board of elders or the board of deacons, and let's find out whether we should march today or not. They didn't depend on that type of thing. They watched to see if the pillar of fire by night and the pillar of cloud by day, if it lifted from off the tabernacle. Now, if it lifted, it meant that they were to march. If it did not lift, it meant that they were to stay in the camp that day. So all Moses and Aaron had to do was to just watch, and they were to follow the leading that the Spirit of God gave them, for that pillar of cloud represents the Spirit of God. And the child of God should be led like that, not visibly, but we should be led by the Spirit of God. As many as are led by the Spirit, these are the sons of God, and the Spirit of God wants to lead the sons of God. Now, when the pillar lifted, then immediately Aaron and his sons went in, and they went first to the veil. And as you probably know, before the veil, back in the Holy of Holies, was the ark and the mercy seat. Now, I think I mentioned this when we were in Leviticus, that I believe that the ark and the mercy seat were put up against the veil, not against the back wall, and that when they went in, they turned around, and they did face to the east, and they took the blood and put it on the mercy seat. But this day, why, they went up and they took the veil and they let it down. It was held up there by the rings and the taches, and it was let down, and they dropped it down over the mercy seat and also over the ark. Then they wrapped it up, and then when they had wrapped that up, they put further linen cloth around it. It had several different coverings, and finally they put around it the outside cover of the tabernacle. Then when that was concluded and the other vessels were wrapped up, then the Kohathites came in. And when they came in, there were staves that were in these articles of furniture, and they picked them up, and then they moved out. Those that carried the ark, the priests that carried it, they went way out in front and waited, for the pillar of cloud was there. And then the tribe of Judah came on. Then the articles of furniture came, and we're going to see that 7 times the trumpet was blown to get them on the wilderness march. Now the evening when they came to camp, it was a thrilling sort of thing to see them come into camp. Every man knew what he was to do. Every man carrying his particular part of the tabernacle, and when he carried that particular article all during the day and the evening, The first thing that happened was that the ark was put down, and the whole camp was arranged according to that. Then those members of the family of Levi, the Kohathites, carrying the other articles of furniture, put them down. Then the tabernacle was just set up around them. In other words, the furniture was put in first. Now, you don't ordinarily build a house like that today. But after all, this was a mobile home, and it moved, and they put the furniture down, then they put the tabernacle around it, as it were. And each man had his assignment. I'm of the opinion that that went up in a hurry, and I mean in a hurry. I think that in 15 minutes after they came to rest, when that ark was put down, that the tabernacle was already in place. You say you don't mean that, do you? I certainly do mean it. Let me explain to you and illustrate this. In my first pastorate in Nashville, Tennessee, I was single, and I always spent a great deal of time with my young officers. Some of them were married, some were not, and so we just had a gay old time at night. And when the circus would come to town, we would go to some home, and we would have coffee and sandwiches. Then we would go out to the railroad yards where the circus came in, and it would roll in about 2 o'clock in the morning. It's always interesting to watch that. When that circus rolled in, all you could hear would be the animals maybe letting out their cry, but not a sound. And when they would put it in on the sidetrack, there would be that slight rumble of the cars. And the minute that it came to a standstill, out from under those wagons and from the cages, a whole army of men would come out. And that had not been stopped 5 minutes until they were rolling the wagons off of the flat cars. They were unloading the circus, and they were moving it out to the circus grounds. Now, that to us was always an interesting experience, to be there 2 o'clock in the morning. When all the circus had been unloaded and they were moving it out to the circus grounds, well, we'd get in our car and go out. And to watch that parade was much more interesting to me than the circus parade itself, with all of its fanfare and show and noise and calliopes. So we went out to the grounds. By that time, they had put up the cook tent, and many of the roustabouts were in there having their coffee and breakfast. The big top was just going up, and the crew that put it up, they were busy. And the minute they got it up, and it didn't take them long, while they came in for their coffee, the other crowd went out, began to put in the seats, began to put in the rings that were used for the circus, hang the trapeze. Everything was put into place. I want to tell you, friends, it was quite a show. And by 10 o'clock, everything was in order, and they were ready to do business, and then they had to get ready for the parade, and by noon, the parade had moved out. That, to me, was interesting. And I used to tell these young folks when we'd do that, we'd spend the whole night, and these fellas would take off work the next day, and I did too, and so we just had a big time. And I would tell them, I said, I'm of the opinion that's the way that it was done when the children of Israel came into camp. I said, when they came into camp, the tribe of Levi, the Kohathites brought in the articles of furniture, put them down. And the minute they put them down, that tabernacle started going up, because Merari came in with the boards and the bars, and he put up his part, and then Gershon put up his part, put the coverings over, and then it was the great high priest that would remove the veil and hang that, and the Holy of Holies was not entered by anyone except the great high priest, as he put everything into place there. My, what a thrill it must have been to watch Israel come into camp. That was one of the greatest thrills, I think, that you could possibly have, to have been there. And after 40 years of practice, they got pretty good at it. Now, each man had an assignment. And this is what I meant the other day when I said that every Christian has a gift, and you have a job God wants you to do. And I believe God's going to reward you for doing what He wants you to do, not doing what you want to do. are doing what you think that you'd like to do, but exercising the gift that he gave you. Now suppose the fella that carried that tent pin on the northwest corner of the tabernacle, suppose that fella, he got weary of the job, and one day they are driving in the pins, and he said, I'm pretty tired of this. For 20 years now, I've been carrying that tent pin. All I do is to come here of a morning, and when they loosen it up, I pull it out of the ground, I put it on my shoulder, I take it over to my family, and we put it on the wagon, and here we start out. And you know, to be honest with you, I'm pretty tired of it. Nobody seems to recognize how hard I work. Nobody seems to want to reward me for what I do. And Moses never called me up and given me a medal. He's never recognized me before the congregation. And I'm getting pretty tired of it. I think I'm going to quit carrying it. And he said that. The others had heard him complain before, and they paid no more attention to it. But the next morning, when they were all there, he was there, but when he started to pull that tent pin out, it was unusually difficult to get it out. They'd loosened it up, but that ground was hard down under that sand. And so he grunted, and finally he was disgusted. He said, well, nobody paying attention anyway. After all, my job's not very important. All I do is carry a tent pin. So I think that what I'll do, I'll leave it today. I'm not going to fool with it anymore. Suppose he left that tent pin. When they came into camp the next evening and everything's in order, all of a sudden somebody says, where's so-and-so carries the tent pin at the northwest corner? And they can't locate him. Finally, Moses comes up and he says, find him. And they find him and bring him in to Moses. Moses said, where's the tent pin? He said, well, I left it back where we camped last night. Well, he says, why'd you leave it there? Well, he said, I didn't think my job was very important. Moses said, your job is so important that, frankly, this tabernacle, we can't put it up. You're going to have to sit there all night holding that cord because you should have been carrying that tent pin today. That tent pin's very important. You couldn't all put the tabernacle up without it. Now, who's to determine, friends, in God's service today, who does the most important thing? You see, that man for 20 years had been faithful. Then all of a sudden, he just went haywire. And notice what happened. How many children of God today do not think their service is important? The thing he's going to reward you for, friends, not the amount of work you've done, but whether you were faithful doing that which he's called you to do. And if you're carrying that tent pin at the northwest corner, don't forget to carry it today. It's going to be pretty important, let me tell you.